the hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to their assigned seats. All members of the House will please report to their seats. The clerk will ring the bell. We are about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Hope everybody's ready to work today on Legislative Day 33, or work for a few minutes anyway. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 19th House District, Representative Joseph Gullett. Representative Gullett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I'm so honored today to present to you Pastor Josh. He is the lead pastor of Fortified Hills Baptist Church, right in the heart of my district in Dallas, Georgia. Fortified Hills has a long, rich history, having celebrated their 100-year anniversary back in 2013. Pastor Josh grew up in Kennesaw, Georgia, and graduated from Harrison High School. He also graduated from Auburn University, as well as the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He is married to his wife, Jessica, and they have 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. Pastor Josh and Fortified Hills Baptist Church are a true asset to Paulding County and to my community, and I'm so happy he's here to join us. Please welcome Pastor Josh.
Like you said, my name is Josh Price, and I am the lead pastor at Fortified Hills Baptist Church. It's been a great joy and a privilege to be able to serve in that church and in that county. Thankful for the opportunity to be here. I do want to just say that I am thankful that I can be here to let you know how grateful I am as well for all that you do, for all the hours and the days and the years of public service that are represented in this room. I just want to thank you on behalf of my church and me and my family as well. The task before you, I know, is a big one. It's often complicated, I'm sure, in ways that I'm not even aware of. But I know that you deal with complicated and big issues on a regular basis. You have constituents that are varied. You often, I'm sure, feel pulled in multiple directions. I may be able to relate to some of that as well as a pastor. And add to some of that, some of the issues that you address have some real weight. The decisions that you make have real impact on the lives of Georgians all over this state. And I'm sure there are times then in which where your jobs feel really demanding and perhaps overwhelming. Well, I want to spend just a couple of minutes. I know I'm a Baptist pastor, but I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes. We're going to break the mold here and try and do that. Just to encourage you this morning by simply reminding you that there is a God who is never overwhelmed, who knows all that you need, and provides when you need exactly what you need. There's a passage in Joshua chapter 5, verse 12 that says this, "And the manna ceased the day after they ate of the produce of the land. And there was no longer manna for the people of Israel, but they ate of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year." Little backstory on that, the Israelites needed food as they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. They had no food. They needed someone to provide it. And so each day, every day, as they woke up, God had provided this manna from heaven that literally their lives might be sustained. Every day, for 40 years, they went to bed with no food. They woke up, and the Lord had provided exactly what they needed, right when they needed, at the very right time that they needed to have it. Every day for 40 years, until the verse that I read, they entered the land that was flowing with milk and honey. It had all that they needed. And on that very day, then the manna from heaven ceased. And I think in a little text like that, we see something here of the heart and the nature of God. We see a God who knows what we need, who provides just what we need at exactly the right time that we need it. No place is this more clear for us than God's provision of our greatest need, the forgiveness of our sins that he provides in Jesus Christ. Again, we see his heart and his nature as a God who knows exactly what we need and provides all that we need. So I just want to encourage you this day and in the days to come, and the weeks to come, and the months to come, and the years to come, as you serve, as you work diligently through hard issues, complicated issues, and varied constituencies, long days, there is a God who knows just what you need, who provides all that you need at exactly when you need it. Let us pray together this morning. Father in heaven, we are a needy people. We are not sufficient in and of ourselves, but ones who desperately depend on you. And so, God, we are thankful, as we've seen here, even in this brief little verse, that you are a God who needs nothing and yet has everything. And you are completely sufficient in and of yourself. And yet you're also a God who is gracious and generous. And so I pray for those that are here this morning that they might trust in you, lean on you as they go throughout all the tasks they have this day and in the days to come. And God, I pray that as they do that, they would find you to be a God who knows all that they need, provides just what they need at exactly when they need it. We pray these things in the powerful, mighty, and beautiful name of Jesus. Amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal of the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, don't trust everything you see. Even salt looks like sugar.
Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159th moves following be established as the order of business under first part of the period unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, mourning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 755 by Representative Meeks, and the 178th bill be titled Act to Amend the Act created Board of Elections and Registration for Pierce County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 756 by Representative Meeks, and the 178th bill be titled An Act to reconstitute and reestablish the Board of Elections and Registration of Pierce County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 757 by Representative Fuentes of the 89th, Holland of the 54th, Cannon of the 58th, Metz of the 55th, Dreyer of the 59th, and others. Bill be titled An Act to Amend the Atlanta Urban Enterprise Zone Act.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 758 by Representative Davis of the 87th, Scott of the 76th, McLeod of the 105th, and Schofield of the 60th. Bill being titled An Act to Amend Article 4, Chapter 18, and Title 50, the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to inspection of public records.
Rules.
House Bill 759 by Representative Petrie of the 166th. Bill being titled An Act to authorize the governing authority of the town of Thunderbolt to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 760 by Representative Park of the 101st, Clark of the 108th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Marin of the 96th, McLeod of the 105th, and others. Bill be titled An Act to Amend the Act creating the Board of Commissioners of Gwinnett County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 21 by Senator Jones of the 10th, Butler of the 55th, Anderson of the 43rd. Bill be titled An Act to Amend an Act to incorporate the city of Stonecrest into DeKalb County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 287 by Senator Payne of the 54th and Anderson of the 24th. Bill be titled An Act to Amend an Act providing a new charter for the city of Eaton.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 290 by Senator Hickman of the 4th. Bill be titled An Act to Amend an Act providing for the composition of the Board of Education of Evans County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 753 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Jenkins of the 132nd, Bonner of the 72nd, and Singleton of the 71st, a bill to create the Coweta County Public Facilities Authority. House Bill 754 by Representative Benton of the 31st, a bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Hoxton. Senate Bill 274 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and House Tetler of the 52nd, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from Bartow County School District ad valorem taxes. Senate Bill 275 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and House Tetler of the 52nd, a bill to amend an act providing for a homestead exemption from certain Bartow County School District ad valorem taxes. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Greg Morris, the 156th District Chairman on Committee on Banks and Banking, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Banks and Banking is that under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It's instructed me to report same back to the House following recommendation. Senate Bill 168 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Greg Morris, the 156th District Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had in consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House following recommendations. House Bill 724 do pass. House Bill 730 do pass. House Bill 734 do pass. House Bill 739 do pass. House Bill 742 do pass. House Bill 743 do pass. House Bill 749 do pass. House Bill 750 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman. Representative Chuck Gustration of the 104th District Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 9 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 32 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 34 do pass. Senate Bill 75 do pass. Senate Bill 143 do pass. Senate Bill 163 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 169 do pass. Senate Bill 185 do pass. Senate Bill 221 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Chuck Gustration of the 104th District Chairman. Representative John Corbett of the 174th District Chairman of the Committee on Motor Vehicles submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Motor Vehicles has had on consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House following recommendations. Senate Bill 210 do pass. Senate Bill 237 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative John Corbett of the 174th District Chairman. Representative Lynn Smith, the 70th District Chairman of the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment is out on consideration the following bill of the Senate. The instructed me to report same back to the House. Following recommendations, Senate Bill 119 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Lynn Smith, the 70th District Chairman. Representative Dave Melton of the 112th District, Chairman of the Committee on Special Rules, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Special Rules is under consideration the following resolution of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House. Following recommendation, House Resolution 117 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Dave Belton of the 112th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Okay, we're going on now to the local calendar. Going on to the local calendar, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. For what purpose does Chairman Tankersley rise?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a motion.
State your motion.
I would like to make a motion to recommit House Bill 739 to Intergovernmental Coordination Committee.
Chairman Tankersley has moved that House Bill 739 be recommitted to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee. The author is agreeable to that. Is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, you want to read the caption?
House Bill 739 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, the City of Blue Ridge.
On the lady's motion, is there any objection? Is there any objection? Hearing none, that bill will go back to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole without House Bill 739. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 724 by Representative Allen of the 40th, Cobb County. House Bill 730 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Whitfield County. House Bill 734 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, City of Uwharrie. House Bill 742 by Representative Dubnik of the 29th, Gainesville City School District. House Bill 743 by Representative Dickey, the 140th City of Fort Valley. House Bill 749 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Chatham County. House Bill 750 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Chatham County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills remaining on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 153, the nays are 2. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. We're going on now to mourning orders. The 10-minute rule will be strictly enforced today because we have a joint session coming up soon. Going on to mourning orders. Chair recognizes Representative Carpenter for a mourning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to come today and apologize. I offended some members in this body yesterday. Most of you know I enjoy a good laugh and love to keep things light in such a tense society. I can assure you I never wanted to come across that way, and I apologize if my words offended you in any way, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the Dean of the House, Dean Smyrie, for a morning order.
Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I just wanted to come down. Today is Columbus Day, and on behalf of Chairman Richard Smith, Representative Hughley, Representative Vance Smith, and Representative Buckner, you should have received a gift bag in your office. And on behalf of our Chairman, Gerald Mitchell, and Pace Halter, our chair of our board of our chamber, you'll have a nice charcoal broiled barbecue kit in here, and an Aflac duck, and a couple other niceties. So, Mr. Speaker, we just wanted to, we always have Columbus up here, but because of COVID, we're not able to visit the Capitol. But on behalf of our City of Columbus, our mayor, and our Chamber of Commerce, and Columbus State University, and Columbus Tech, we just want to say thank y'all for y'all's support of the Columbus community. And on behalf of our delegation, thank y'all very much.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dempsey for a morning order.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we focus on National Women's History Month, I want to bring you two incredible ladies who have been prominent leaders throughout our century. I want you to just take a moment and look at it. In case any of you have seen this magazine here, you should have received the Georgia magazine from our Georgia EMCs. On the cover is an incredible woman from Rome, Georgia. Her name is Jane Tucker. She's 93 years old, and at the age of 16, she learned to weld at a shipyard in Savannah and helped build the Liberty ships for the war effort. She is one of those Rosies. They're profound. They walk across all of our avenues and places in life. Last year we would have honored them, but because of the pandemic, I hope that next year, when it's in our rearview mirror, we will honor their 102 years of service. But I want to ask you now to focus on an incredible educational leader, Martha Berry. She founded the Berry Schools for the academically able but economically poor children all throughout rural South Georgia, particularly. The Berry Schools became the model for vocational agriculture and mechanical schools throughout our world, showing how the needs of people in poor rural areas could be met. Through her schools, she blazed a trail for the establishment of an agriculture mechanical school in each congressional district of Georgia. In the early 1900s, these grew, and within 3 decades, this grew into Berry College, a comprehensive, strong, liberal arts college that still exists today. She traveled widely. She became an accomplished fundraiser. Many of the gifts were small, but she also received support from philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, automotive pioneer Henry Ford, President Theodore Roosevelt, and President Woodrow Wilson's wife, Ellen Axon Wilson, also from Rome. That was unheard of at that time for a female to go out on her own and ask for contributions. As you look around here today, you're in the midst of many who have graduated or been touched by Berry College. They've attended, they've graduated, they have children or family and friends. Our own Holly Pitcock is one of those special alums from Berry College. This work is so profound. She taught the value of appreciating our land and gathered, while she was still alive, 30,000 acres that are part of the campus. It continues to grow, and the motto of head, heart, and hand, and not to be ministered unto, but to minister, can be seen in all of those who have been touched by an education or an experience at Berry College. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the Speaker Pro Tem of the House, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, for a morning order.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to draw everyone's attention to a brave and determined woman who made a difference in our state and, frankly, nationally, Charlene Hunter Galt. She paved the way not that long ago for African Americans to attend Georgia State colleges and universities and pursue the American dream. Following graduation from Henry McNeil Turner High School, Hunter Galt applied to the University of Georgia and was denied admission due to her race. She enrolled at Wayne State University in Detroit, but her battle was not over. A team of civil rights attorneys secured her admission to UGA in January of 1961. It made her the first black woman to ever attend the nation's oldest public university. She graduated from UGA with a degree in journalism from the Henry W. Grady School of Journalism, which I'm proud to say I did as well. Following graduation, she led a most successful career in journalism, which I did not. Today and every day, we remember women like Charlene Hunter Galt, who paved the way for black Georgians to pursue their dreams of higher education in our great state. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Glanton for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I just came up this morning to say thank you. Thank you to those of you who have reached out to me during my health challenges, and thank you to those who even thought about reaching out to me this morning. And so I want to say that some folks have been a little concerned. It is not COVID related, so you don't have to bump air. We can bump. But also, I just want to say something that, you know, you go through life and different things happen and you never expect some things to happen, but they do anyway. As a military, growing up in the military, I was master fitness, I was drill sergeant candidate, and I was paratrooper airborne. But this has certainly been a humbling experience. And so while I will be on light duty for a while, I declare and decree that by his stripes, I am healed. So thank you. May God bless you. And may God bless this house. Go Dogs.
Chair recognizes Representative Nelson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. On behalf of our Augusta delegation, we are so proud to commend 3 of our public high school basketball teams that won championships on last week. T.W. Josie Girls, Cross Creek Girls and Boys was the only school that had 2 teams in, and it was their first championship in school history. We commend them and thank you so much for your support. We yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Realizing that I used up years of goodwill yesterday, but I would be remiss if I didn't come to the well today and also pay recognition that yesterday the Georgia Tech Lady Yellow Jackets basketball team received a berth to the NCAA tournament. They're going to be a number 5 seed, which is 4 seeds better than our men's program. It's great that we have the state of Georgia representing us on a national level. Go Jackets.
That completes morning orders for today. If you have signed up and didn't get reached, and you want to be reached tomorrow, then see the messenger. What purpose does the chairman of the House Rules Committee rise?
Parliamentary inquiry and immediately followed by a motion, please, sir.
State your inquiry.
Well, isn't it true that the last words out of my wife's mouth this morning was to play pretty? And isn't it all? And part of the motion is I move that Senate Bill 46 be recommitted back to Health and Human Services.
I wasn't a party to your conversation with your wife this morning, so I hope you listened, though. On the chairman's motion that Senate Bill 46 be recommitted to the Health and Human Services Committee, clerk will read the caption.
Senate Bill 46 by Senator Burke of the 11th, Watson the 1st, Hatchett the 50th, Miller the 49th, Kirkpatrick the 32nd, and others, be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia Annotated relating to health, so as to authorize certain medical personnel to administer vaccines during the public health emergencies under certain conditions.
On the gentleman's motion that Senate Bill 46 be recommitted to the Health and Human Services Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privilege resolutions.
Honoring the life and memory of Lieutenant Colonel Charles George Neiman. Honoring the life and memory of Mr. Bradley Scott Brad Vines and dedicating a road in his memory. Honoring the life and memory of Comer H. Flynn. Honoring the life and memory of Jeremiah Lawrence. Honoring the life and memory of Daniel Allen Delnance. Recognizing and honoring Mr. Elmore Moe Callaway Thrash Jr. upon his 50th year of lobbying at the Georgia State Capitol, recognizing the importance of creating multiple diploma pathways for high school students, recognizing and commending Nancy Burton, congratulating and commending Maria F. Pfeiffer for receiving the 2021 Yellow Rose Nikki T. Randall Service Leader Award, recognizing and commending Judge Lewis Patterson, commending and congratulating Adam Riley Plocha, congratulating and commending Larissa Settles for receiving the 2021 Nikki T. Randall Service Leader Award, commending the Haralson County High School Game Day cheerleading team for winning the 2021 State Cheerleading Championship, and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. For what purpose does Chairman Mathiak rise?
Make a motion
State your motion.
that the rules of the House be temporarily suspended so that a bill can be read and introduced and put into committee.
Chairman Mathiak has moved that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee. Clerk will read the caption.
On number of the House bill by Representative Mathiak, the 73rd night of the 130th, to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide a board of elections for Spalding County.
On the lady's motion, is there any objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. Okay, we will do announcements after the state of the judiciary, which should be coming together most any moment now. We'll be at ease for a moment, but be prepared to come back in quickly and take your seat. We will have the Chief Justice and some representatives from across the hall with us today. This House will come to order. This House will come to order. Members will please take your seats. Members will please take your seats. Madam Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the President, President Pro Tem, the Majority Leader, and the Minority Leader of the Senate await entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the President Pro Tem, the Majority Leader, and the Minority Leader of the State Senate to enter the House chamber, and please escort them to their seats. It is, yeah. Madam Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Harold Melton, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Honorable David Namias, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, await entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the Honorable Harold Melton, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Honorable David Namias, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, access to the chamber. Members may be seated. Members of the House of Representatives and Senate, this joint session will now come to order. The clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 315 by Representative Burns, the 159th, calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other justice of the Supreme Court and each judge of the Court of Appeals to be present at the joint session and for other purposes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House and the Senate, it is my distinct honor today to introduce to you a dear friend and a distinguished jurist, the Chief Justice of the state of Georgia. A native of Washington, D.C., our Chief Justice grew up in East Point and Marietta. He attended Auburn University, where he was elected to serve as president of the Student Senate. If you visit the campus there today, I'd encourage you to visit the Student Center, which has fittingly been named in his honor by his alma mater. He earned his law degree from the University of Georgia in 1991. He spent 11 years with the Department of Law, where he dealt with issues from the creation of the Georgia Lottery Commission to Georgia's tobacco settlement. He later served as executive counsel to Governor Sonny Perdue before his appointment to the Supreme Court in 2005, where he has served with distinction ever since. It is for all these reasons that I was honored earlier this session to join with the Speaker Pro Tem of this House, the Majority Leader, and the Minority Leader, and several chairmen to sponsor House Resolution 332, honoring Chief Justice Melton on the grand occasion of his forthcoming retirement after 30 years of service to our state. So please join with me and his dear wife Kimberly as we thank him for his service and welcome him to our House chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Justice of the state of Georgia, the Honorable Harold Melton. Let me see if I can slide by you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, President Pro Tem Miller, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, constitutional officers, my fellow judges, ladies and gentlemen. Written in big letters above the bench of the Georgia Supreme Court is the Latin phrase, fiat justitia ruit caelum. Translated into English, it means, let justice be done though the heavens may fall. To me, this motto has always meant that we who are judges must do the right thing and uphold the rule of law regardless of politics, the public will, or the consequences. Now I have another take. Given this past year, I believe it also means that justice must prevail even when everything around us is falling apart. Truth and justice for all must remain front and center, even if we find ourselves in a historic time of great political upheaval, racial and social unrest, and a worldwide pandemic that has altered our lives. I thank you for this annual opportunity to report to the General Legislature the state of this judiciary, what the courts have accomplished this past year, and where we are headed. And I thank you for your continued support. I'm also grateful to Governor Kemp for his leadership and help this past year. I want to give a special greeting to my lovely wife, Kimberly, who adjusted her travel plans at the last minute in order to be here for this moment. I'll tell you that this is the kind of support and love that she has consistently extended to me, and I do thank you for being with me here on this special day, and thank you all for recognizing her in a special way. When I stood before you a year ago, I spoke of the pride and hope that I had in our Georgia judicial branch of government going forward in 2020. I did not know that 3 weeks later I would declare a statewide judicial emergency in response to the COVID-19 pandemic that had reached Georgia's borders. I did not know that in coming months many of us would lose colleagues, friends, and loved ones to this dangerous disease or fall victim to it ourselves. I did not know how hard our courts would have to work to pivot and change in order to uphold justice. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I can report to you that going forward in 2021, the state of our judiciary is sound, solid, and strong. It is not without its challenges, and I particularly want to thank you for your support of this legislative session in helping us to confront some of those challenges. This past year, I've witnessed firsthand that your judges and courts are remarkably resilient, flexible, creative, and committed in their mission to uphold the law and mete out justice fairly and equitably. It has been my honor and one of the highlights of my professional career to work with an amazingly cohesive group of justices, judges, clerks, court administrators, leaders of the state bar, law school deans, public health officials, sheriff's offices, and others who have collaborated and cooperated to keep our courts open and the work of the judiciary on track, all while going the extra distance to ensure that people are safe. Our courts exist to uphold the rule of law. It is what we are. It is who we are. The rule of law is the principle that in our nation and in our state, the law is in charge, not a king, not a dictator, but a body of laws. No one stands above the law, and no one should be treated differently under the law. In a democracy, our laws must be applied equally, whether you are weak or powerful, rich or poor, white or of color, young or old, or of one religion or another. The rule of law is intended to protect the rights of the people and to prevent tyranny. Justice and the rule of law cannot wait on the pandemic. 1 year ago, on March 12, 2020, in an emergency phone call, I told Georgia's judicial leaders that under state law, the chief judge of each judicial circuit had the authority to suspend jury trials and other court proceedings in response to the COVID-19 virus. The next day, Fulton County Superior Court Chief Judge Christopher Brasher became the first to do so. Others around the state soon followed suit. 2 days later, I declared a statewide judicial emergency following the lead of Governor Kemp. The order took effect immediately and was due to expire in 30 days as state law required. At that time, we knew of only one death in Georgia due to COVID-19. The emergency order signed that day required courts to remain open, to address critical or essential functions and give priority to such matters as domestic abuse restraining orders, criminal bond hearings, mental health commitment hearings, and cases where the immediate liberty or safety concern was present. The order suspended a number of judicial deadlines and urged courts to begin using video conferencing where possible as a safer alternative to in-person proceedings. In the ensuing months, new orders followed every 30 days, extending the statewide judicial emergency order. At first, we thought this pandemic would be over in a matter of months and we would go back to normal. I certainly never envisioned that we would still be within its grips 1 year later. With the help of the Administrative Office of the Courts and Director Cynthia Clanton, we have held emergency virtual meetings almost every week with the Judicial Council. The Judicial Council is the policy-making body of the state's judicial branch that is made up of judges representing every class of court in Georgia. In those meetings, we heard questions that needed to be answered, rules and laws that needed to be changed, and steps we needed to take to get the courts fully operational during a pandemic. In a normal year, there are 4 quarterly meetings of the Judicial Council. In this past year, there have been more than 30, and they've been extremely productive. I want to emphasize that from day one of this emergency, Georgia's courts have remained open, and the work of the courts has continued. It looks different. Along the way, I've told judges that if you have to stick a bucket inside the door of the courthouse to accept the filing and instruct that filer to kick that bucket back and forth in order to get things going, then do that. So our courts have not closed. We've adjusted operations, and there are things that we have not been able to do, but our courts have not closed. Our judges have taken an oath to uphold the law, and many will tell you that they go to bed at night worried about how they can push cases towards resolution without endangering the public health of all those who come to our courthouses. You should be proud of the many judges in Georgia. in the superior courts, the state courts, the juvenile courts, the magistrate courts, municipal courts, the business court, and the appellate courts, who have stepped up this year to go beyond the normal duties to keep cases moving as much as possible and to keep people safe. In some cases, it has cost them their lives. Our probate court judges have been particularly hit hard by the virus. Probate judges have a host of critically important jobs, including the emergency appointment of guardians and the involuntary hospitalization of incapacitated adults and other dependent individuals. Ensuring care for those who cannot care for themselves cannot wait until the end of a pandemic. Among probate judges we lost this year from COVID-19 are Judge Karen Batten of Brantley County, described by Probate Council President Kelly Walk as a genuinely kind soul. Judge Nancy Stevenson of Dougherty County, a judge who loved and served her community of Albany, a community which loved her back. And Judge John Payne of Chattooga County, a veteran of the U.S. Marines and the former sheriff's deputy who was elected Chattooga County probate judge at the age of 25 and remained a probate judge for the next 45 years until he was struck down by the coronavirus. We lost my dear friend and colleague, former Chief Justice George Carley, to the virus. Another former Chief Justice, Norman Fletcher, lost his beloved wife, Dot. And Superior Court Judge Horace Johnson of Covington, a bright, shining star that left us way too early, after collapsing only hours after holding a virtual court hearing from his home. And even though he tested positive for COVID-19, Judge Johnson continued doing his sworn duty until the end. In addition to these countless of judges and staff, deputies, prosecutors, and public defenders, lawyers, and others in our court family, many have contracted the virus but survived COVID-19. I know a number of you have suffered similar losses and may have even had the virus yourselves. I want to thank you for still being here and showing up to do the great business of this great state. Thank you. In the first month of the emergency order, the Supreme Court of Georgia, like other courts, canceled courtroom sessions that were scheduled for March of 2020 for oral arguments. But my colleagues and I, thanks to our first-rate IT staff, quickly adapted to the use of Zoom video conferencing technology, as did attorneys who argued before us. And with the exception of March, the state's highest court has not missed a single month of oral arguments. The cases canceled in March were added to the April calendar, and we have continued to stay on track. Our court of 9 justices continues to meet regularly and virtually to decide cases, and the number of opinions we issued remain about the same as in the last 2 years. We issued 265 opinions from April through December in 2020, compared to 261 opinions during those same months in 2019. At the beginning of the emergency, one bright spot was the governor's appointment last March of a new justice, Judge Carla Wong Mcmillan of the Georgia Court of Appeals, who took the seat of the retired Justice Benham. Justice Mcmillan is the first Asian American ever appointed to the state's highest court, and she has been a welcome addition. Although the number of cases argued before the court has slowed during the pandemic, the work of the court has increased because of the pandemic. I'm so grateful to my colleagues, Presiding Justice David Namias, former Justice Keith Blackwell, Justice Michael Boggs, Justice Nels Peterson, our Clerk of Court, Ms. T. Barnes, our Chief Deputy Clerk, Ms. Tia Milton, who formed our internal working group to lead our judicial branch through this crisis. Among many changes, we amended the trial court rules, to allow for virtual hearings through video conferencing technology in proceedings that normally require the physical presence of the judge and parties. We also replaced the in-person Georgia bar examination with an online bar exam to avoid having hundreds of people sitting for hours in close quarters. This took enormous effort, and I'm thankful to all those involved. Former Justice Blackwell, Justice Peterson, the Board of Bar Examiners, the Office of Bar Admissions under the leadership of Heidi Fienza, and the deans of all 5 of our law schools. We have successfully administered 2 remote bar exams, one in October and one last month, testing a total of more than 1,800 applicants who now have a path of licensure to practice law. I also want to thank Governor Kemp and his staff who helped us in making some of these changes. The governor responded to us immediately last April by issuing an order that now allows notaries to certify documents remotely rather than in person. From the beginning of this pandemic, our greatest challenge in the judiciary has been jury trials. When people think of the courts and court business, most think of jury trials, the kind of things we see on TV. Indeed, jury trials are the hallmark of our American system of justice, a fundamental constitutional right in a criminal case to be tried by a jury of your peers. Early on, we suspended jury trials due to the number of people involved, the length of the trials, and especially due to the number of citizens needed to be summoned in order to have jury selection. The public health risk to all involved was significant. At that time, we were seeing COVID outbreaks in Georgia and across the nation, where large numbers of people were gathering inside close quarters, such as they do for a jury trial. The decision to open jury trials is different than opening businesses. Unlike when individuals choose whether to visit a store or a gym or a restaurant, when a citizen receives a jury summons, that is not an invitation. It is an order. We compel people to come to court. It has therefore been critical that when we summon jury trials, we did it the right way, with the necessary safeguards in place to protect the public health and safety of the lawyers, the judges, the jurors, the clerks, the bailiffs, the sheriff's deputies, court reporters, witnesses, defendants, parties, and all the many people we require to be present for trial. But we suspended jury trials at a real cost, and we recognized that we could not suspend them indefinitely, even during a pandemic. Unindicted criminal cases have been building, and there are many individuals in jail who have been waiting for more than a year under the presumption of being innocent until proven guilty. In addition to criminal trials, many people are awaiting resolution of weighty civil matters, including cases that involve business disputes and personal injuries and divorces and child custody. In mid-October, I signed an order lifting the suspension of jury trials. Not too long after we reopened jury trials, however, the number of coronavirus cases spiked. And in December, we had to shut down jury trials again. Since then, our courts have been accumulating more cases, been accumulating more cases that are awaiting indictment and trial. The potential backlog in cases is staggering, and we must find a way to reduce the growing pressure. So 1 week ago today, after the number of coronavirus cases sharply declined, I again signed an order authorizing the resumption of jury trials in Georgia. Under this order, before jury trials may resume, courts must have written plans in place to ensure that jury trials can be conducted safely and in conformity with public health guidance. I'm grateful for the leadership of former Fulton County Superior Court Judge Sean LaGrua, now Justice LaGrua, the most recent appointee to the state Supreme Court. She and Chief Judge Russell Mcmillan of the Forsyth County State Court together have co-chaired the Judicial Council's COVID-19 task force that I appointed last May. Since then, they've been working diligently on the particulars of getting the courts fully and safely operational during and after the pandemic. These two leaders have marshaled the resources of the judges appointed to that task force and divided them into subcommittees to address various issues. They brought in clerks and civil and criminal lawyers, public health experts, and others as advisors. Among them was Dr. Mark Swaincutt of the Fulton County Board of Public Health, who has been an invaluable source of wise counsel. Together, these professionals, all volunteers, have created guidelines on how courts must operate to ensure safety for in-person proceedings, including jury trials. They started with one question: how can we keep everybody safe? The plans that courts must have in place prior to resuming jury trials cover everything from where people park to how they walk into the building, how they line up to go through security, how they ride the elevators and walk through the halls or visit the restrooms. On the day of a trial, the court will look different than it has in the past. Protocols include pre-screening for health risk of all parties, temperature checks, use of masks, social distancing, plexiglass barriers, touch-free evidence technology, constant surface cleaning, and the reconfiguration of courtrooms and jury spaces to ensure social distancing. You may see spectators in one courtroom and participants in another, all so that we can accommodate social distancing. In some cases, court will be held in a different building altogether. These changes are well underway all across the state. We are, of course, hopeful that the widespread vaccination of citizens will help put an end to this pandemic, but we're not there yet. And even when that day comes, our courts will face a huge challenge, one for which we will need your help. As I said before, we've gone essentially 1 year without jury trials. Although judges across the state have worked hard to keep the jail populations down, there still remains a large number of inmates still sitting in jail waiting for their cases to be heard. And although we now have lifted the suspension of jury trials, it could take up to 1 and possibly 3 years to dig out of this backlog. Not only will we have significantly more cases, but the process of moving those cases through the system, at least initially, will go more slowly due to the safety protocols. As we resume jury trials, if we're only able to move at 1/3 of the pace, we will be relieving some of the pressure, but the backlog will continue to grow. Fulton County has the largest court system in this state. In a 10-month period, the number of defendants in jail without being indicted grew from 230 to roughly 1,400. At the same time, of the 40 courtrooms normally used in Fulton County for trial courts, only 2 are large enough to hold an array of prospective jurors while accounting for social distancing and public health precautions. Throughout the pandemic, we have suspended the statutory speedy trial deadlines as a part of our statewide judicial emergency. But once the governor ends the public health emergency, by law, the judicial emergency must also end. Under the Georgia statutory law, if a defendant files a speedy trial demand, the court has only a few terms of court to try that person. And if it fails to meet that deadline, the defendant is automatically acquitted and released. Fulton County and other large counties have terms of court that are only 2 months long. Imagine what would happen in Fulton County if those 1,400 inmates, when indicted, all filed speedy trial demands. The avalanche of demands would overwhelm the court system, and a sizable number of defendants would be acquitted and released without trial. We realize the burden of having defendants waiting longer for trial while being in jail, but we need to have a system that actually determines whether people who have been charged and indicted with a crime are guilty or innocent before allowing them to walk free. So we need your help to avert this crisis. We're also very grateful to the Georgia General Assembly for your support for Senate Bill 163, which is designed to address this situation. This legislation will allow trial courts in some counties to continue to suspend statutory speedy trial deadlines until those deadlines could reasonably be met. Constitutional speedy trial rights are not affected, and this legislation has a sunset date, so we're targeting this legislation to allow us to get through this backlog. This legislation is the highest priority of the Judicial Council and the Georgia courts, in Georgia Superior and state courts. And we have proposed other legislation that will help as well to get through the backlog. All these legislative proposals are supported by the Judicial Council, and we appreciate the amount of consideration that you have given them. I've mentioned to you before, our courts have had to pivot and change, like many businesses in our society. Probably the biggest change in how our courts operate today has come through the use of technology. And many of our judges have surprised even themselves by how proficient they have become. In every judicial order that I've signed, we have encouraged courts to switch from in-person court proceedings to video conferencing where legally and practicably possible. Many of our courts rose to the occasion and seem to have turned on a dime. As president of the Council of Superior Court Judges, Chief Judge Brian Amaro of Henry County pushed for the immediate acquisition of WebEx licenses so Superior Court judges around the state could increase their use of video conferencing. Today, 238 licenses are now in use by judges all over Georgia. Under Chief Judge Brasher, the Fulton County courts have built a huge infrastructure around Zoom with more than a dozen Zoom stations at the Fulton County Jail so that judges can conduct arraignments and plea hearings without having to transport defendants. Pre-COVID, the county was busing 200 inmates a day to the courthouse, involving an enormous security undertaking. Today, they transport an average of less than 12 a day. I believe that this is one of the types of changes that may become permanent. We have learned a great deal during this pandemic, and we need to continue using some of the things that we've learned to make us better and efficient. There are other types of hearings I believe that we will continue to conduct virtually. We have learned that it probably doesn't make sense to require an attorney from Savannah to travel to Atlanta for a 15-minute status conference with a judge, where the judge will simply ask, "How are we looking? When do you think we're going to be ready for trial?" The client really shouldn't have to pay for that. That could be easily conducted virtually. One of the many heroes during this pandemic has been Chief Judge Rob Leonard of the Cobb Judicial Circuit. As chair of the COVID-19 Task Force's Technology Committee, he has led the judiciary on technology matters and helped many of our judges become more savvy and capable. Judge Leonard took it upon himself to create a library of video tutorials to help judges learn how to do Zoom and other virtual proceedings. He's made use of technology understandable and accessible, and we are very grateful to him. I also want to mention a few more judges and thank them for their dedication and leadership and creativity. Newton County's probate court judge and Chief Magistrate Judge Melanie Bell, member of our COVID-19 task force, became sick with the virus early in the pandemic. So sick that she spent 4 days in the hospital. But she recovered and has since become a beacon of hope and vigilance for the judiciary, stressing that this crisis has brought Georgia's judges together in a collaboration like never before. After his son contracted COVID-19, Cobb County Superior Court Judge Tane Kell conducted virtual hearings from a makeshift courtroom in his bedroom, complete with an American flag. Under the leadership of Judge Dale Bubba Samuels of Monroe and Judge Willie Weaver of Albany, the Council of Municipal Court Judges early on developed best practices and guidelines for operating municipal courts to ensure the safety of the public and court staff coming into the courthouses. Chief Judge Norman Quadra of Suwanee has lost 3 family members to COVID, yet continues to stand out as a leader on the COVID-19 task force, working with interpreters and court reporters. Chief Judge Asa Jackson of the Cobb County Superior Court has been an innovative force on the COVID-19 task force and with the judiciary as a whole. She recognized early on the importance of improving ventilation in the courtrooms and made that a priority for change. This pandemic has had some unexpected consequences within the criminal justice system beyond how the courts are adapting. One of the effects of the pandemic has been an increase in mental health problems, drug abuse, and suicide, both among those who come before our courts and those who work within the judiciary. People with mental illness or substance abuse, or both, are already considered a vulnerable population. They have needs which are typically unmet and which are driven up, which drive up their risk for criminal activity or suicide. With the pandemic, many therapy and support group meetings have shut down, and this isolation and lack of interaction has contributed to their problems. Yet in Georgia, our accountability courts or specialty courts, dealing with drug courts, mental courts, and others, are thriving. The work of the professionals and judges in these courts has been unwavering throughout this past year. I've been amazed at their dedication and perseverance as they've stepped up to go the extra mile. Accountability court team members have maintained critical contact with program participants by visiting them at their homes, not only to confirm that they are staying away from drugs and alcohol, but also to ask how are they doing and whether they need anything. The courts have helped keep participants connected by setting up treatment groups who can meet virtually and by conducting Zoom status hearings with judges. These participants know that the judges and staff are invested in their lives because they meet with them virtually every week for a minimum of 18 months. Some judges have begun returning to in-person group therapy sessions using masks and alternative sites, including meeting outdoors when the weather has been good. Superior Court Judge Stephen Kelly of the Brunswick Judicial Circuit has been holding felony drug court in a gymnasium. Georgia now has 169 accountability courts. That's up from 72 in 2011. Chief Judge Kathleen Goslin of the Northeastern Judicial Circuit has been a solidifying voice as leader of the Council of Accountability Court Judges in continuing to further the development of Georgia's specialty courts. Even during a pandemic, 6 new accountability courts are preparing to begin operations in the next year. Georgia's accountability courts help fuel our economy. Each graduate has a positive economic impact of $22,129 based on the amount of money saved from avoiding sending that person to prison, as well as other avoided costs. If you take that $22,129 and apply it to the 1,841 participants who graduated last year, that's more than $40 million in positive economic impact to the state of Georgia. We appreciate the support that you give and continue to give to these courts. We've also realized during this past year the psychological impact the virus has had on the already stressful legal profession. In October of 2020, we lost an assistant district attorney in Columbus, Georgia, to suicide. I don't know what role COVID played in that, but a recent academic study supported the association between several COVID-related experiences and suicidal ideation and attempts. These findings underscored the need for access to mental health services during a pandemic. We know from research that connectedness to others has been identified as an important protective factor in preventing death by suicide. Throughout the pandemic, we in the legal community have been working to foster connectivity among its members and raise awareness of available services. In April 30 of this year, the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, under the leadership of Ms. Carlise Greer, will hold a suicide awareness program statewide. We want to make the case that death by suicide is preventable. We want to assure members of our legal community that it is okay to ask for help. I began talking to you today about justice and the rule of law, and I wish to conclude on that topic. In this past year, our world has been rocked by a pandemic. My friend, Chief Judge Ben Studdard of the Henry County State Court, believes history will call 2020 the year of the pandemic. But he also believes that 2020 will go down as the year of the call for justice. I like to think that we are in a historic time of opportunity and reconciliation. I've often said that at bottom of the social unease we are experiencing is an insistence on the rule of law. That's what we are all asking for. That is the true promise of our judicial system. Both the pandemic and the social unrest of this past year call for an even greater fidelity to the rule of law, not less, but more. My friends, I believe that every growth spurt in our nation's history, moving us closer to the promise of liberty and justice for all, has come only after some degree of strife and turmoil. What gets us to the next level is when people of goodwill do the necessary soul searching and put on the shield and do the work that it takes. I believe that a year from now, when my successor delivers the next State of the Judiciary address in this hallowed hall, life will be different. We can only speculate about what will return to the way it was and what will not. But one thing I'm sure of, regardless of what will be in the wind on that day, Georgia's judiciary will remain steady and fully committed to the rule of law. That will not change. It has been one of my greatest privileges of my life to serve the last 16 years as a justice on the state's highest court. In preparation for my departure from the court on July 1, last week my colleagues voted unanimously to name Presiding Justice David Namias as your next Chief Justice. Justice Michael Boggs will succeed him as Presiding Justice. There are no two more able. Our state is extremely fortunate to have them in these roles. A reporter recently asked me what I will miss most when I step down from the bench. I did not hesitate. The people. My colleagues, our court staff, the judges I've gotten to know, and I'll miss you, the many legislators with whom I've worked over the years. It has been such an honor. Thank you for that honor. May God bless you, may God bless your families, and may God bless the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Robert.
At this time, I will ask the doorkeeper to escort the Supreme Court justices and their distinguished guests from the chamber. Members of the House, we have been honored to be joined today by some distinguished friends from across the hall. Please recognize and honor my dear friend and a former member of this body, the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan. The President Pro Tem of the State Senate, the Honorable Butch Miller. The Speaker Pro Tem of this body, Speaker Pro Tem Jones. And the Majority Leader of the Senate, Majority Leader Dugan. And the Minority Leader, Minority Leader Butler. Thank you all very, very much. Chair recognizes now the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that now that this joint session be dissolved.
The Majority Leader has moved that this joint session of the Georgia General Assembly be dissolved. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes clearly have it, and this House, or this joint session is now dissolved. Okay, we're going on now to announcements. This house will be back in order. Going on to announcements. Chair recognizes Chairman Tankersley for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Intergovernmental Coordination Committee will meet today at 1:30 in room 403. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hatchett for an announcement.
The Majority Caucus will meet today upon adjournment in the Floyd Room at Twin Towers. Upon adjournment, we have a guest that will be there at noon, so please be there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hawkins for an announcement.
The Committee on Budget and Fiscal Affairs will meet today at 1 o'clock in room 341 in the Capitol.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dubnik for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Education Committee will be meeting at 3:30 p.m. today, 3:30 p.m.
Chair recognizes Chairman F. Stration for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Both subcommittees of the House Judiciary Committee are meeting today. Gunter Subcommittee at 1:30 in room 132, and Scoggins Subcommittee at 3:30 in room 132. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee meeting, CLOB 606.
Chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Insurance Committee's Life and Health Committee subcommittee will be meeting today at 3 o'clock and 341. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is a change when the Health and Human Services Committee is going to meet today. We are meeting at 3 o'clock, not 2 o'clock. The Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 3 o'clock in CLOB room 606. 3 o'clock, 606 in the LOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lumsden for an announcement.
Full House Insurance Committee will be meeting in the morning at 8 a.m., CLOB 606. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Alexander for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we recognize and celebrate over 35 women on the front line of the COVID-19 pandemic. This virtual event marks the 6th annual Nikki T. Randall Servant Leadership Award sponsored by the Georgia Women's Legislative Caucus. Congratulations to all the honorees for your outstanding services. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of this House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 2 p.m. today, then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, March 17th, 2021.
The Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 2 p.m. today, at which time we would stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 17 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. This House will be in recess until 2 p.m., then stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 17 at 10 a.m.